Chosen one, what you did today did not go unnoticed, even if no human applauded you, even if no one clapped, even if no one thanked you, even if no one understood the weight of what you carried and still chose to push forward. Heaven saw every detail, every intention, every silent sacrifice, every moment where you wanted to stop but didn't, every time you chose discipline over comfort, truth over ease, obedience over excuse. And God is saying to you right now that what you did today went far beyond expectation, not just yours, but heaven's measure of faithfulness, because you did not act from convenience, you acted from conviction, and angels paused in their movement to witness it, because rarely does a soul choose the higher road when the lower one is easier, rarely does a heart remain steady when fatigue is heavy, rarely does someone remain kind when they themselves feel empty, and yet today you did exactly that, and heaven leaned in closer to your life as a result, not to judge you, but to mark you, to record this moment as a turning point in your destiny, because what you did today was not small in the spirit even if it felt ordinary in the natural. It was a seed planted in unseen soil that is about to produce a harvest you cannot yet imagine, and God wants you to know this clearly so that doubt does not steal your confidence and discouragement does not minimize your obedience, because today you passed a spiritual test without even knowing you were being examined. A test of endurance, a test of humility, a test of consistency, a test of trust, and the reason it felt harder than usual is because the reward attached to this obedience is heavier than you realize. You were being stretched because your capacity is being expanded, you were being pressured because your position is being elevated, you were being refined because your calling is being sharpened, and every moment where you felt unseen today was actually a moment where heaven was watching closely, measuring not just your actions but your heart behind them, and what God saw made him smile in a way that shifted things behind the scenes of your life, because obedience attracts divine attention in ways prayer alone sometimes cannot. And today your actions spoke louder than your words ever could. You chose to show up when you could have withdrawn. You chose to try again when it would have been easier to delay. You chose integrity when no one would have noticed the compromise. You chose patience when frustration tried to rule your emotions, and all of that created a spiritual echo that traveled into realms you cannot see, prompting movement, alignment, and decisions in the unseen that are now working in your favor. And this is why your spirit may feel strangely heavy and light at the same time. Heavy because you were stretched beyond comfort, light because something lifted off of you without you realizing it, and God says that what lifted was doubt that had been clinging silently to your faith. What lifted was fear that had been whispering smallness into your future. What lifted was a delay that had been resisting movement in your timeline, because today your obedience disrupted a pattern that had been holding you back, and heaven responded immediately, even if the manifestation has not yet reached your hands, because there is always a gap between spiritual approval and physical reward. But make no mistake, the approval has already been released, and that means the reward is already scheduled, and you will look back on this day and realize it was the day the momentum changed, the day your faith gained traction, the day your consistency unlocked acceleration, the day your quiet discipline broke a barrier that loud prayers could not. And this is why God is telling you now that you must not downplay what you did today. You must not dismiss it as just another day. You must not minimize your effort because it looked ordinary to others, because heaven does not measure by human scale, it measures by heart alignment, and your heart today was aligned in a way that shifted things eternally. And this is also why the enemy tried so hard to tire you out today, distract you today, discourage you today, because he sensed that something powerful was attached to your obedience, but you still moved forward, tired but faithful, uncertain but obedient, pressured but persistent, and that is what caused heaven to take notice, not perfection but perseverance, not strength but surrender, not achievement but alignment. And God is saying that angels are being reassigned right now as a result of today, certain delays are being overridden right now as a result of today, certain closed doors are being reconsidered right now as a result of today, and certain hidden battles you never even knew were happening on your behalf just shifted in your favor because of what you chose to do when no one was watching. And the most important part of all is this: you did not do what you did today for applause, you did it because something inside you refused to give up. And that refusal has now become your signature in the spirit. Heaven has marked you as someone who does not quit when pressure rises, and that is why what comes next will require the same level of quiet strength you showed today, because God is not preparing you for something small. He is preparing you for something that will stretch your influence, expand your responsibility, and elevate your position. And today was the confirmation that you can handle what is coming, even when your emotions tremble and your body feels tired, your spirit remains willing, and that is what heaven is responding to right now, and very soon you will begin to notice subtle changes, small openings, unexpected clarity, renewed energy, surprising favor, because heaven never ignores true effort, it always answers it, sometimes quietly at first, sometimes suddenly later, but always precisely, and what you did today was not just noticed, it was recorded, and what is recorded in heaven always finds its way back into your life in the form of transformation, provision, alignment, and breakthrough, and this is only the beginning of what that single day of obedience has set into motion. Because chosen one, what heaven noticed today did not end with the moment you thought the effort was finished. The ripple of what you released kept traveling through realms you cannot see, touching doors you did not knock on, stirring hearts you have never met, and shifting outcomes you were never told were connected to you. God is saying to you right now that the weight of what you did was far heavier than you realized, because it was done from obedience, not convenience, from surrender, not recognition, from faith, not comfort. You may have thought it was a small act, but heaven measured it as a massive seed. You may have felt unnoticed by people, but the angels recorded every step of it. You may have wondered if it truly mattered, but God is saying it changed more than you will understand in this season. What you did today triggered movement in places that had been locked for a long time. It broke delays that were resisting you quietly. It softened hearts that were once closed to your name. It shifted timing that had been stalled in the unseen. You obeyed without knowing the full reward, and that is why heaven responded so quickly. Many only move when they see the outcome first, but you moved when there was no proof, no applause, no guarantee, no security, only trust. And that trust is what caused heaven to take notice. Angels are saying that your action today did not just affect your present, it rewrote part of your future. It repositioned you in a way you could not have achieved through strategy alone. You stepped into alignment without realizing how exact the timing was. God had been waiting for your yes, waiting for your courage, waiting for your follow-through, waiting for your faith to become visible in action. The moment you acted, heaven responded. A record was updated in the spirit. An assignment was released. A resistance was lifted. A cycle was officially closed. A new one was authorized to begin. This is why your spirit feels different right now. Lighter, calmer, more alert, more certain. Something inside you shifted because heaven touched something around you. And God is saying that even though you may not see the results immediately, the momentum has already started. What was stuck is loosening. What was delayed is accelerating. What was confusing is aligning. What was blocked is bending. People you did not expect will suddenly be cooperative. Opportunities you stopped hoping for will resurface in a new form. Ideas you thought were lost will return with clarity and power. Your effort today sent a signal to heaven that you are ready for more responsibility, more authority, more access, more weight, more blessing. And heaven never responds to readiness with silence. Angels are already arranging circumstances, conversations, meetings, and shifts that will look natural on the surface but are being directed supernaturally underneath. You may think today was ordinary, but heaven marked it as a turning point. You may think you were just trying your best, but God saw it as sacrificial faith. You may think you were simply pushing through, but heaven saw it as spiritual strength. This is why you will begin to notice subtle changes first. A change in how people speak to you, a change in how situations unfold, a change in your confidence, a change in your clarity, a change in your emotional stability. These are the early signs that the seed is already germinating. What you did today did not vanish into the air. It was planted in eternity. And eternity is now responding back to your life. Because chosen one, what heaven began acknowledging in you yesterday is now unfolding into consequences that will stretch far beyond what you imagined when you took that simple step of obedience, endurance, restraint, or silent faith. What you did may have looked small to the world, but in the spiritual realm it echoed loudly, and angels are still carrying the reverberations of it through dimensions you cannot see. God is saying, you have no idea how many doors shifted because of one decision you almost didn't make. That moment when you chose patience instead of reaction, integrity instead of compromise, faith instead of fear, discipline instead of comfort, that was the moment heaven leaned forward. That was the moment records were opened. That was the moment your name was spoken in places you've never seen. You didn't feel thunder, but heaven thundered. You didn't see fire, but spiritual fire moved. You didn't hear applause, but angels rejoiced. And now the chain reaction is in motion. What you did yesterday has already begun rewriting tomorrow. Things are being repositioned quietly, conversations are shifting in rooms you're not in, decisions are being reconsidered in offices you've never entered, delays are being dissolved that you didn't even know were blocking you, resistance is weakening without your involvement. God is saying, I am responding to obedience you thought went unnoticed. You thought nobody saw you choose what was right when it was painful. You thought nobody noticed you walking away from what would have been easier. You thought nobody cared when you kept showing up while feeling empty. But heaven saw all of it. Angels marked the moment your strength outlasted your exhaustion. They recorded the moment you held your ground when quitting would have made sense. They stood in awe when you chose purity over pressure, humility over pride, silence over revenge, prayer over panic. And now those moments are being woven together into a turnaround you could not have engineered on your own. God is rearranging outcomes in your favor without you even touching them. This is why your spirit feels unusually calm even though nothing visibly changed yet. That calm is the residue of divine intervention. This is why your intuition feels sharpened, because the veil has thinned around your next step. This is why old anxieties feel weaker, because authority just increased in your life. Heaven is not only taking notice of what you did, heaven is now accelerating what you've been waiting for. God is saying, your consistency unlocked something sudden. Do not be surprised if people shift toward you unexpectedly. Do not be shocked if opportunities emerge without warning. Do not question it when solutions form faster than problems. Do not doubt it when relief arrives without explanation. These are not coincidences. These are consequences of what you did that went beyond expectation. Even the pressure you felt before making that decision was part of the test. The resistance you encountered was confirmation of its weight. The hesitation you wrestled through was evidence that it mattered. Heaven only tests what it intends to reward. And the reason this reward feels quiet right now is because God is preparing something that does not arrive loudly, it arrives irrevocably. Something that cannot be undone. Something that cannot be blocked. Something that does not reverse. You are stepping into a phase where your smallest acts of obedience will carry disproportionate impact. Where one conversation can shift your career. Where one choice can reposition your destiny. Where one act of faith can reroute an entire season. And this sensitivity you're feeling inside, this subtle awareness that something changed, that is not imagination. That is alignment. Heaven is aligning timelines to match the version of you that emerged through yesterday's obedience. The old delays were attached to the old you. The old resistance was tied to the old posture. The old struggle belonged to the former version of your faith. But now that you moved differently, everything must adjust accordingly. God is saying, what you did today forced heaven to move faster. And this acceleration will not feel chaotic. It will feel precise. The next few days will carry unusual clarity. You will see through situations faster. You will sense truth without needing proof. You will know what to engage and what to avoid without explanation. This is not coincidence. This is the aftershock of divine notice. Angels are now watching over your next steps with heightened attention. They are guarding transitions you haven't stepped into yet. They are standing over doors that haven't opened yet. They are blocking distractions you haven't encountered yet. This is the privilege of being noticed by heaven. Protection increases before breakthrough arrives. And chosen one, what makes this even more powerful is that you did not act for applause. You did not act for recognition. You did not act for reward. You acted from alignment. And alignment always commands heaven's response. What comes next will not look like what you expected. It will look better, quieter, cleaner, and more irreversible than what you asked for. God is saying, I am about to show you why I took notice. Because chosen one, now heaven wants you to understand the full weight of what was set in motion by what you did today, because this final revelation will anchor everything your spirit has been sensing since the moment you finished that small, quiet act of obedience that looked ordinary on the surface but shook the atmosphere in the unseen realm. What you did today didn't just touch God's heart. It activated a sequence of divine responses that will ripple through your life in ways you cannot yet calculate, because heaven does not measure impact the way humans do. Heaven measures intention, surrender, faith, courage, restraint, perseverance, and hidden sacrifice. And when you moved the way you did today, angels recorded it not as a moment but as a milestone. You may have thought it was just another effort, another step, another duty, another push through fatigue, another choice to do the right thing when no one was watching, but God saw the resistance you pushed through, the emotions you had to silence, the doubts you refused to obey, the fear you overrode, and the discomfort you tolerated out of obedience. Heaven says your action today crossed a threshold that your past prayers alone could not cross, because today your faith became visible in the physical realm. What you did today was proof that you are no longer just asking for change, you are aligning with it. That alignment is what caused heaven to take notice in a deeper way. Angels did not just observe your action, they carried it upward as a legal testimony in the spirit realm that you are ready for the next stage of what God promised you. There is a difference between someone who desires breakthrough and someone who positions themselves for it, and today you positioned yourself. What you did today answered questions that heaven had already asked about your readiness. It answered whether you would keep going when the reward was not immediate. It answered whether you would remain faithful when the validation was absent. It answered whether you would choose obedience even when your emotions wanted rest. And because you passed that test without realizing it, heaven released authorization for acceleration that had been held back for your protection until now. This is why the atmosphere around you feels different tonight, why your spirit feels quieter, steadier, more settled, even if your circumstances haven't shifted yet, because what shifted first was your spiritual standing. God is saying that what you did today untied something that had been bound over your next season. A delay loosened, a blockage cracked, a resistance weakened, a closed gate unlocked, a burden lifted, a decision solidified in the unseen. You may not see the evidence immediately, but you will feel the alignment beginning to pull your life forward with less friction than before. The pressure you've been under is starting to release in stages. The weight you carried privately is beginning to transfer into strength. The confusion that lingered is starting to organize itself into clarity. The exhaustion that kept returning is starting to lose its grip. And it all traces back to what you did today, because obedience creates spiritual momentum that nothing else can manufacture. Heaven is now rearranging outcomes because you rearranged your response. You chose discipline where you could have chosen delay. You chose faith where you could have chosen retreat. You chose action where you could have chosen avoidance. And now God is choosing to move on your behalf in ways that will feel sudden to you but were already scheduled in heaven once your alignment was confirmed. This is why in the coming days you will notice subtle but undeniable shifts, conversations that happen at just the right time, information that appears when you need it, opportunities that feel unexpected but precisely fitted to you, relief in areas that felt permanently heavy, and an internal confidence that does not come from motivation but from certainty. God is saying that today you proved you can be trusted with the next layer of what He is preparing to release into your life. That does not mean the path will suddenly be effortless, but it does mean the resistance will no longer be aimless. From this point forward, your struggles will have clearer purpose, your waiting will have clearer direction, and your progress will feel more intentional. What you did today also shifted how others will begin to perceive you, even without understanding why. Your energy will feel more grounded. Your presence will feel steadier. Your words will carry more weight. Your decisions will feel more final. That is the aftereffect of heaven's acknowledgement. It leaves a signature on your spirit that the world can sense. You will not need to announce what changed. People will simply respond to you differently. Doors will respond differently. Conversations will respond differently. Resistance will respond differently. Because what heaven acknowledged today is now being echoed in the environments you walk into. God is also saying that what you did today planted a seed that will produce not just personal reward but generational effect. The courage you showed will show up again in your future. The discipline you practiced will become a pattern of strength. The obedience you offered will return as protection. And the unseen sacrifice you made will return as visible favor. You did not just act for today, you shifted tomorrow. And this is why heaven took notice, because heaven responds most powerfully when a chosen one moves before they see proof. Tonight, while you rest, angels will continue adjusting things around you based on today's alignment. They are already recalibrating timelines, softening certain hearts, moving obstacles, and reinforcing protection in areas you don't even realize are vulnerable yet. You may sleep without dreams or with unusually vivid ones, but either way, your spirit will remain active in cooperation with what God initiated through your obedience today. And when you wake up, you may not feel dramatically different at first, but you will begin to realize that things are no longer fighting you the same way they used to. The resistance that once felt personal will start to feel procedural. The battles that once drained you will begin to feel shorter. The confusion that once overwhelmed you will begin to resolve faster. That is the quiet evidence that heaven responded. What you did today became a pivot point. And God is saying to you now, with great clarity and assurance, that this is not the end of the reward. It is the beginning of the turning. What comes next will unfold step by step, not all at once, because heaven protects your capacity as much as it releases your blessings. But make no mistake, your obedience today has already entered God's system of response, and nothing you did went unnoticed, wasted, or delayed. You will see the return. You will feel the confirmation. And you will understand, with time, why heaven marked this day the way it did.